Krishna. Welcome everyone. Sunday session. So this session, I think this is a booster for all of us. So Monday to Friday, we are doing all material activities. Saturday, Bhaktisiddhanta, and again, so one more the booster for all of us. And so today we are so fortunate we'll be taking association with His Grace Dinesvara Sacisuta Thakur. I think you might be already knowing about Prabhuji. Prabhuji is visible wherever you go in the center. He's handling so many different activities. So when I come to the material, so Prabhuji is actually is a senior development manager in one of the top four companies in India for the past 15 years, and he holds masters in computers, and also he awards the best employer of the year, power talk, and many more. Currently, these are the material qualifications when it comes to the Prabhuji. Prabhuji in the spiritual. Currently, he is pursuing Bhaktisiddhanta degree from Bhakti Center. And also, Prabhuji has 22 plus years of IT experience. It's not like 1 or 2 years. And so when it comes to the managing our center, Prabhuji is handling different activities. So what not bookstalls, so various other capacities of different activities. Also, Prabhuji is handling another the Gita course. Right? Yeah. So when it comes to Prabhuji's family, I think we have Kavati Mataji. So this couple, we are so fortunate and we are blessed to have this wonderful family to our congregation. Let's welcome his guest, Dinesvara Sacisuta Prabhu, by chanting one time Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Body, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sadhguru, I'm so grateful to have you all attend this Sunday feast session here in IBC Panathur. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. So it's a great tradition that we talk about the exalted lives of our senior acharyas and their prominent teachings and their persons as well. So in congregation centers like this, it's Srila Prabhupada's instruction that we celebrate the appearance and disappearance of these special personalities, right? Appearance is nothing but their birthdays, and disappearance is the day when they leave this material world, right? So today I'm going to speak about the great saint, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, whose 150th appearance day we all celebrated on 29th February, and today we will have the same here in our center as well, right? So it is said that by hearing about these great personalities and by talking about these great personalities, right, we develop the cultivation of attachment of spiritual personalities, and that helps us in growth of our spiritual. So before I start, I seek blessings from you all and from the seniors who are present here, and thank them for giving me the opportunity to talk some glorification about this great personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, okay. Now let's start with the pranam mantra. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So he is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So today let's start with a beautiful bhajan which is written by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This bhajan is named as Vaikunta Hoite Shrestha. Hope I'm audible and it's visible, right? Vaikunta Hoite Shrestha Madhura Nagari Malakilayata Krishna Chandahari Vaikunta Hoite Shrestha Madhura Nagari Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So this is the meaning of this wonderful bhajan by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So the first says, higher than Vaikunta is Mathura city, since there occurred the advent of Sri Krishna Chandra Hari. Better than Mathura is Vrindavana, the holy place where Lord Hari enjoyed the joyous dance of Morus grace. Above Vrindavan Dhama is Govardhana hill, the lifter of the hill, and his concert, the added infathomably level. Even higher than Govardhana hill is the banks of Radha Kunda, that the sweetheart of Gokula overflowed sweet love about. Who would select for his worship any other place, disregarding the sacred pond at Govardhana's base? Such a foolish fellow surely can't be found. The highest abode of love, divine, is the banks of Sri Radha Kunda. So wonderful bhajan by right. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains Lord Krishna's various pastimes, the different dhams, and the importance of each dham, right? And he also talks about the different leelas the Lord performs for the pleasure of his devotees. And also he says that the highest abode of divine of love can be attained the banks of Radha Kunda. Right? Now let's offer the pranam mantra of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we'll recite and then we'll also read the translation. So it is very important we understand the meanings of each of these pranam mantras of our senior acharyas. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His divine grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Sri Vashabani Devi Dai Daye Kripakdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnanadayine Prabhave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srila Sri Varshavani Devi, the Aistek Dasha, another name of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is favored by Srimati Radharani and who is the ocean of transcendental mercy and the deliverer of the signs of Krishna. माधुर्योज्वल प्रेमाद्य श्री रूपानुग भक्तिदा श्री गौर करुणा शक्ति विग्रहाय नमोस्तुते. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, who delivers the devotional service enriched with conjugal love of Sri Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of revelation of Srila Rupa Goswami. नमस्ते गौरवाणी श्री मूर्तये दीनतारिणे रूपानुगविर्तापा सिद्धान्तत्वान्तहारिणे. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls. You do not tolerate any statement against the teachings of devotional service enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. So before we get into the pastimes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, right? Let us spend some time to understand the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, right? Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, what does he say? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashayasya duskritam dharma samsthapanataya sambhavami yuge yuge. Irreligion, bad practices rise in the name of religion, and whenever true eternal principles fade away, right, and when miscreants misuse these actual spiritual principles and take advantage of it, that's the time the Lord descends, right? So we saw Lord Krishna descended during the Mahabharata, right? And then who descended 500 years back? It was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who appeared 500 years ago in India. And what was the main reason for his appearance? Yes, to deliver the treasure of love to each and everyone, right? And he also wanted to get us from the suffering. Suffering of what? Not from hunger of the stomach. Yes, right? Reunite us with the loving service and complete selfless aspect with the Lord, right? He said that true happiness arises, all the problems in the world can be resolved, right? The one thing what he identified is, in this age of Kali Yuga, people have lost the relationship they have with the Lord, right? So Mahaprabhu descended to establish the principle, which is that each and every individual establishes the relationship with the Supreme Lord, right? And when he was there, did he come alone? He came with many of his associates, right? And they were preaching across, right? We recently had the Nityananda Trayodasi and we saw, right, the pastimes of Lord Nityananda, right? And how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda and all their associates, they were trying to preach, right? And what happened in the due course of time? As time went, the Lord disappeared. And what happened when the Lord disappeared? All his associates also started, right, disappearing, right? And when he left this world, right, he had 6 dear associates of Vrindavana who took in charge of the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Who are those 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana? Does anyone know? Yes. For those who don't know, it's Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. Right? They took in charge of what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came here and wanted to establish the actual principles of religion, right? So they took in charge of it, and they wrote many books, and they wrote many bhajans and songs for the Lord, and they were trying to preach the glories of the Lord to everyone, right? And also, what else did they do? They built many temples. They also excavated the various places where the Lord's pastimes had taken place, right? And then, in due course of time, these Goswamis also disappeared, and then the famous trio came. Who are they? Yeah. So it was Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Prabhu, and Srinivas Acharya. So they came, and again they took in charge of the missions of Srila Prabhupada, right? And then what happened? They also disappeared, and then two famous personalities came. Who are they? Yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and great Baldev Vidyabhushan, right? So far, see if you see Srila Prabhupada's books, he says it is as it is. What does it as it is mean? It is not his own perspectives, right? He just presented what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and great Baldev Vidyabhushan had given the commentaries on all these great scriptures, right? And in due course of time, they also left, and then came the Dark Age. What happened in the Dark Age? What are the four principles of Dharma? Four pillars of Dharma? Yeah. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sexual relation. These were considered to be the four pillars of Dharma. And what happened in this Dark Age, the different people who came, they started preaching that eating meat, doing gambling, having intoxication, and having illicit sexual relation are the right principles of spirituality. They started preaching to everyone to have meat, right? They said that if you have they said that if you are able to enjoy your body, that is what spiritualism. Through your self-enjoyment, you can relish, you can get enlightened. And some of them came back, and some other sect they came back and they prescribed their own principles, right? And one another sect they came and said, mind, follow your mind. Mind is the best preacher. Don't follow anything. Follow the mind. What do we understand from Bhagavad Gita? What is the characteristics of mind? Yes, it's always flickering, right? It said that mind is like a monkey. So if you have all gone to Vrindavan, and if you had participated in Vrindavan Parikrama or Govardhan Parikrama, you could see a lot of monkeys, right? They don't just sit at one place. And last year when we went to Govardhan Parikrama, right, the early morning I was walking, all these monkeys were waking up. They were like, when we wake up from the bed, at least I wake up from the bed, I feel very lazy to even take my chanting bag, right? But these monkeys, they try to jump from one branch to another, again come back to the same branch, and sometimes they also try from jumping from one tree to another tree. Like our mind, even though when we start sitting here, when I say, everyone please focus, that is the time our mind will start thinking, right? Or when the moment I say, please focus on this slide, right? Then we'll all start thinking, oh, what should I do next, right? Oh, tomorrow there is office. Oh, it's already Sunday evening. It's already Sunday morning, right? I have to wait. I have to pack things for my kids. I have to send them to school. And people who work, right? Oh, tomorrow office, I need to check, right? What meetings are there, right? So mind doesn't stay in one place, right? What does Arjuna say in Bhagavad Gita 6.34? Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavad dridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva su dushkaram. The mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong. Oh Krishna, and to subdue it, I think it's more difficult than controlling the mind. Wind. Right? So who was Arjuna? He was a great warrior. It is said that when Arjuna steps into the battlefield, most of the opponents, right, they'll run away. He never had seen any defeat in his lifetime. With the Gandiva in his hand, when he enters the battlefield, right? Everyone used to be frightened of Arjuna. Such a great warrior, right? What happened to him when he stepped into the battlefield of Kurukshetra, seeing all his cousins and relatives, his masters and his grandfather in the battlefield? What happened to his mind? His mind started flickering. His hand, which was stable to hold the Gandiva, his hand was shivering. The Gandiva was about to fall down from his hand. Right? So that is the state of the mind. And now in the dark age, what the other sects started preaching, right? Follow your mind. It's like you give some alcohol to monkey, right? It keeps already jumping from one place to another. And when you give some alcohol to monkey, what happens? You can't even control it. Same thing, right? Our mind is already uncontrollable. And then one starts saying, follow your mind. Then whatever the mind says, you will do. You will lose your intelligence. Mind will take over the intelligence, right? So that was the dark age, right? That Gauda Vaishnavas were undergoing, right? So, and at that time, we needed a ray of hope. Who was that person who would arise and who was going to bring light to this dark age? It was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, right, who appeared in 1838 in Bengal, right? He was the first personality who started to preach in English, and there was a very urgent need to refocus and forget and make make everyone forget about the adulterations of all the spiritual principles which had been taken place during this dark age, right? And it was difficult for him alone to fight against these different principles, right? And to give the righteous principle to everyone. So what he did, he had a very intense prayer to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What did he pray for? I just want one ray of the sun. He didn't ask for the whole sun. He said, just give me one ray of the sun and I will try to succeed and bring back the principles which are lost, right? And then the Lord reciprocated, right? And we used to say, Srila Prabhupada says, it is the one ray of Vishnu which succeeded in bringing back the actual religious principles. So it was on 6th February 1874 at around 3:30 p.m. in the evening, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared, right? And it is said that when he appeared, there were like 32 symptoms of Mahapurusha, right? One of the symptoms we'll see, right? How do you identify a very pious Brahmin? By his white sacred thread around the neck. If you all seen, right, even when we take second initiation here in ISKCON, right, you start wearing that white sacred thread around your neck. So it was said that when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur appeared, the umbilical cord was around the neck, which signified that he was a spotless Brahmana who has taken birth in this material world. And what was his original name? Bimala Prasad, right? Named after Bimala Devi, goddess of Yoga Maya. And what does the name signify? Prasada, Bimala means the goddess of Yoga Maya, and Prasada means mercy, right? So he who is the mercy of the Lord. So during his birth, they were Bhaktivinoda Thakur was residing in Jagannath Puri. He was a magistrate in Jagannath Puri, right? So now let's get into some of the pastimes, right? So this incident happened when he was around 5 to 6 months, right? The famous Jagannath Ratha Yatra that takes place in Puri, right? It is said that the Rath moves not based on the pull of the devotees, It is based on the will of the Jagannath. If Jagannath desires, the Rath will move faster. If Jagannath desires, the Rath will move slow. No matter how strong the devotees are trying to pull, it is only by the will of Jagannath the Rath moves, right? So this Rath, on that day, it came and it stopped on front of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. His house was in the main road from the temple to the Guddicha Mandir, right? And Bhagavati Devi, the wife of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, saw, oh, this is really auspicious. The Rath has come and stopped in front of our house, right? So let's take this opportunity. So she immediately took Vimala Prasad from her lap. She climbed up the Rath. So since Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the district magistrate in Jagannath Puri, right? So he was, people had to give way for him, and they took Vimala Prasad up the Jagannath Rath, and then then his mother laid him in front of Jagannath. And what did Vimala Prasad do? He went and embraced the lotus feet of Jagannath, and Jagannath reciprocated. One of the garlands from Jagannath fell onto the Vimala Prasad, right? So this clearly signifies that he was the ray of hope who is going to bring back the spiritual principles from the dark age, right? It is said that there's one pastime. One of the kings, he was seeing that the Jagannath Rath Yatra, it takes so long for the devotees to pull. So there is a lot of disturbance for the other people. So he decided to get some 500 elephants, and he said that tomorrow I will use these elephants and I will pull this Rath very fast. In the night, he had a dream, and Gajendra came in the dream, and he said, do you think 500 elephants can pull this Rath faster than the devotees? Let me see how do you even move the Rath. The king got really frightened, and he sent away all the elephants. So that's the will and power of Jagannath, right? And then during that same time, they also had this Annaprasana ceremony for Vimala Prasad, right? What is it? It is the first grain when is feeded to a small kid, right? And he was so fortunate. The first grain of Vimala Prasad was the prasadam from Jagannath, right? So they had arranged some of the scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita book, and a bunch of gold coins and some eateries, right? And they left Vimala Prasad. Vimala Prasad ran towards and he embraced the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, right? He didn't put the gold coins or all sumptuous foods did not attract him. The one thing which attracted him was Srimad Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita, right? So he took birth to fulfill the missionary of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Then at the age of 4 years, right? So after that, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family, they moved on to the Nadia district of Bengal, right? Then what happened? At the age of 6 years, right? Oh, sorry, 4 years. Once Bhaktivinoda Thakur had got mangoes, fresh mangoes, and he had kept it to be offered to the Lord, right? And Vimala Prasad was he was so hungry, and the yellow mango was so attractive for him, right? So he went to go and have it, right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, son, no, this is for, we have to offer it to the Lord and then we can have it. And first time Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a little reluctant. He said, no, 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 I want to have, I'm feeling hungry, I want to taste this mango. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur got really angered and he said, no, you should not have any food that is unoffered to the Lord. See the determination of our senior Acharya at the age of 4 years. He took a vow that I will never ever have a mango in my lifetime. We materialistic people, especially I, I used to take vows during the every year, right? New Year. I will not do this. Next day I'll do the same thing. One funny thing, when you go to, I mean, if you go for a walking in your community or if you go to your gym, you'll find that the first 2 weeks on January, right? You'll see the gym will be crowded, but then the crowd will fade away, right? Even when I was initially into ISKCON, right, when all this Kartik Mantrada came, I used to take up so many things. Wow, it used to be like a fun for me. And then I realized it is very hard to follow the laws, have the determination to follow the laws. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at the age of 4, he decided that I will not have these mangoes, right? Even at the age of 60, when his disciples used to offer him, he would say, please take it away. Even if I have a glance at those mangoes, it's a sin because I have committed a great offense during my childhood that I had the desire to taste these mangoes before it was offered to the Lord. See the determination, right, that our senior of acharyas have. Then at the age of 6 years, right, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got once tulsi beads for him from Jagannath, and he instructed to him to chant the holy names of the Lord, and he followed that instruction. From that day onwards, right, whatever his father says, he used to follow that instructions, right? He used to read scriptures at the age when the kids used to go and play. I really don't remember what I would have done at the age of 6, right? I'm sure I would have not done anything great at the age of 6, right? And then during that time, right, they were actually building a new house and they were excavating and they found a Kurmashila, right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur wanted to give that Kurmashila to some Brahmanas. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, no, I will keep it and I'll worship it. And he saw he was daily worshipping the Kurmashila. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him once, we are from Gaudiya Vaishnavas and we should be worshipping Lord Vishnu. And to him, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave a very scholarly answer. I am worshipping Lord Chaitanya in his ecstatic feature of this Kurmavatar. So that was the thought, and that was the he was in a different level that we could not even imagine, right? And even at that age, he started following the Vaishnava standards, right? And then Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur and Bhagavati Devi, they were the examples of ideal parenting on how to bring up the children, right? And that actually helped Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur as well. And at the age of 7, he memorized all 700 Bhagavad Gita shlokas. And what it was not just recitation of the shlokas. He used to even preach for those, right, who don't understand those shlokas, right? And he used to do proofreading for his father's work. So Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur involved him. So when he constructed the new house, right, he had one portion of this house where he used to write all the books. He had like a press room for in that house, right? So at that age they used the typewriters, right? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to know each mechanics of these typewriters. If something goes wrong, his father would call for him. Vibhu, please come and fix it, and he will run and he'll fix the typewriter for his father. So at that age, he had learned all the mechanics to fix a typewriter, right? And then once the school principal called his father and he gave him a name which was Saraswati. What does Saraswati mean? Goddess of learning, right? And he said, your son has mastered in mathematics, astronomy, astrology. These are very difficult and it would take people minimum 20 to 25 years to master these topics. But your son has mastered all these topics at the age of 7. So it was said once in his school, he was reading a book called Pratana, which was written by Narottama Das Thakur. So his teacher saw he was teaching a lesson, and she saw that Bhaktivinoda Vimala Prasad was reading this book. So she called and she said, Vimala Prasad, what are you doing? What did I teach you now? Can you answer this question? Vimala Prasad immediately stood up. He answered the question and then he said to his teacher, I know what is the next follow-up question you are going to ask me. And he answered that question as well. And then he said, I know what is the next question you are going to ask me. And he answered that question as well. And the teacher said, okay, you please sit down. And he said, and he asked the teacher, can I proceed reading my book? The teacher said, yes, go ahead and read your book. Right? And then at the age of 10 to 12, Bhaktivinoda Thakur started taking all the kids and their friends, right, to all these Dham Yatras, right? And he used to explain the significance of all these places, right? So, and then what happened during that same time, another incident happened in his school. There was a teacher called Mr. C. Little, right? So he was a Christian, right? So sometimes he will try to pull the his students by asking some questions from Bible. So same thing happened. So he asked the students at that time, "What do you all understand from Bible?" And he posted that question to Bimala Prasad. And what did Bimala Prasad say? He said, there is one prayer in Bible which says, give us our daily bread. And he said, the Supreme Lord is not is an object of devotion and not a servant for us to take order and provide us what we require. If we want something from him, we should not ask him. He will give it if we desire, if we are qualified for it, right? He said the devotion should be in the heart, and your Bible teaches something which is not devotion. So Mr. C. Little did not have any further thing to debate with the small boy, Bimala, who was like 12 years old, right? And then at the age of 16, right, Bimala Prasad and his friends, right, they started a meditation group called Augustus. And what was the main principle of this meditation group was to everyone should remain in celibacy, right? And then this group was there for another 10 years. And at the end of the 10th year, it was only Bimala Prasad who was still remaining in that group, right? Every one of his friends had gone away, right? So see the determination of our Acharya. When you take a vow, right, you stand by that vow, right? You don't deviate from it. It's a very important aspect that we all need to understand, right? As we progress towards bhakti, right? When we take a stance in the bhakti, we should stand by that. We should not deviate just because for the sake of others, right? Okay, so at the age of 26, right, uh, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur felt that he needs a spiritual master and he needs a guide for him to advance in spiritual. So he approached his father, and his father recommended him to Srila Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Right? He was a great renunciant, but he was illiterate. He could not read or write. People used to call him a mad person because he sometimes, if he wants, he will have food. Otherwise, he will not have the food. Sometimes, if he wants, he will wear a dress. Otherwise, he will not have wear a dress. Right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur asked his son to go and take shelter the lotus feet of Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Why did he do that? Because his father wanted him to know the aspects of spirituality from a teacher, right? Who has knowledge in the heart and not in the head. Right? He wanted him to learn from a compassionate and a heart filled with love for God. From a person who was compassionate and his heart was only filled with the love for the Lord. Right? So then Bimala Prasad, he went and he asked Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj, please accept me as your disciple and please give me shelter on your lotus feet. Gaurakishore Babaji Das Maharaj was initially very hesitant. He said that you are a great scholar. How could you come and surrender unto me? He gave a wonderful response. To understand the humbleness of our senior Acharya, he said that if the knowledge and the scholarship that I have gained is going to be an obstacle for me to take shelter of you, then whatever I have gained, they are all just waste. I don't need them at all. I just need to surrender onto your lotus feet and learn the principles of spirituality from you. So then Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj said, okay, I need to get permission from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so you come after a week. So 1 week passed away, and then Vimala Prasad went there, and he asked him, Maharaj, did you get an answer from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Gaur Kishore Baba Maharaj said, oh, sorry, my son, I forgot to ask. Why don't you come after a week? So similarly, he was pushing him week after week. At one point on stage, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur understood that his spiritual master is trying to trick him away. So he went and said, if you are not going to accept me as your disciple, I am going to jump into the river. Then Gaur Kishore Das Baba Maharaj understood the sincerity of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he accepted him as his disciple, and then he started him preaching him the very actual aspects of spirituality. Right? He understood the essence of spiritual principles, and main principle, chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the only benediction in this age of Kali Yuga. This he understood from his spiritual master, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to call Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj, even though he was an illiterate and living encyclopedia, right? Then now, now he took another vow. What was that? He took a vow that he is going to chant 1 billion names of the Lord. What? 1 million. 1 billion names of the Lord, which is like 3,000 names in a day. If he used to recite, it would take about 10 years. And he stood by that vow, right? And for 10 years, he was involved in intense bhakti of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Through that, right, he was able to get closer to the Lord. And then he started his preaching machine, right? Then after he got completely purified by the transcendental vibration of the holy names of the Lord, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur decided, now is time for me to take the mission of his fathers and his forefathers, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructions, right? And he became a ferocious speaker, right? Impersonalists and Mayavadis who used to see him when he was walking by the road, if he's on the other side, and if they are coming on the opposite direction, they would cross the road and they would run away. Because if Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gets hold of them, he will not leave. Like how a lion grasps a deer, right? He will grasp them by the shoulder, right? And he will pull them down with their principles and make them chant the holy name of the Lord. And then, through his missionary of preaching, he established 64 temples, right? Fulfilling his father's mission. His father did not have support, and he prayed for the Lord. One ray of Vishnu is required, and he fulfilled that one ray of Vishnu, right? He was able to establish 64 temples, right? And he broke all the conventional barriers during that age. So during that age, it was said temples should be placed in a secluded place. It should be very small. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was completely against it. We live in a big house. How can the Lord live in a small place? He broke that conventional barrier. All his 64 temples were built with marbles, with lot of opulence. They were so huge and they were so big. That is why if you see Srila Prabhupada, he followed the instructions of his spiritual master. See our ISKCON temples. Are they not opulent? Right? Our Krishna Balaram Mandir built full of white marbles, and now a TOVP, Temple of Vedic Planetarium, that's coming up, right? It's being built with so much opulence, right? That's how a Lord's place has to be. It should not be a small place. It should not be in a secular place, right? My spiritual master's desire is to convert Bangalore into a Krishna conscious city, right? He needs to have centers not in a secluded place, every nook and corner. If required, if we get a place in the middle of Panathur main road, our devotees will not be hesitant to go and open a center, right? These were the conventional barriers which he broke off, right? And the other barrier was, it was said that renunciant should not have any costly things like costly clothes. They should not be traveling in a motor car. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur broke that also. He used to have a motor car and he used to travel in that motor car, not for a sense gratification, to reach farther places in less time so that he can spend more time in preaching. So he says, whatever you have in your life, use for the spreading the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Don't use it for your sense gratification. Whatever you have with you, use to preach for those who are not aware of the Lord. Glorify the Lord. Those who don't know the glorifications of the Lord, use it in them. Keep the Lord in center in every home. Keep the Lord in center. That is the instructions we receive from our mentors, right? Keep the Lord in center of your home, and automatically you will see your home will convert into a temple, right? Where did this come from? All this came from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He gave the instructions to his disciple Srila Prabhupada, and we are following the instructions of Srila Prabhupada. So he used to go and meet the British, and when he used to go and meet the British, he used to wear a coat, shirt, pant, shoes, and a cap, and he used to go and talk to them because he wanted to go and associate with them, be one among them, and then make them understand. Right? He doesn't want to be a unique person. He doesn't want to be an odd man out so that they neglect him. He wanted to be one among them, and he wanted to preach them. That's why you see many of our preachers, right? They go to various colleges and preach, right? My mentor, His Grace Kartikeyadas Prabhu, he had went to many colleges. Many other great acharyas and many other seniors in ISKCON, right? They go to these colleges and then they preach, right? So, with that, right, he also established another three main fundamental principles. What were those three main fundamental principles? Never find fault in others. Before you find a fault in other, look for that fault within yourself. That was one of the major principles Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is prescribing us. Never find fault in others. Cooperate with your spiritual master. It is to be better to be a dust in the hands of your spiritual master than being an independent living being, right? What does it mean? Cooperate with your spiritual master. Follow his instructions, right? Srila Prabhupada was begging and crying to his disciples, just follow my instructions, right? And be together. Don't quarrel with each other. Cooperatively try to solve all the conflicts, right? If we start fighting, if we get into quarrelsome, then we will fade away. That was another principle Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has prescribed. Then he says, all success in our life will come automatically when we chant the names of the God, right? So these were the three main fundamental principles Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has established, right? So we see that he has truly emerged as a light, as a ray of hope, which eradicated the darkness, right? There were so many people, there were so many spiritual seekers who wanted to understand the actual spirituality during the dark age, but they were not able to do it because of the day various sects which was prescribing various other activities, right? So he came as a ray of hope, as a light. What happens when you go and switch a light in a dark room, right? You get a visibility, right? Like that, he came and he's creating visibility to us about the actual spirituality and about the religious principles, right? That is why he was called as Simha Guru, right? The lion. He is still like a lion, right? Like how a lion grasps a deer, right? He would grasp anyone who will not follow these principles and will make sure that they start following the principles from that day onwards, right? And if you see Srila Prabhupada, he will not take any single credit also for himself. He will say, all my credits goes to my spiritual master. Even Srila Prabhupada says that I am nothing compared to my spiritual master. He was able to establish 64 temples during that dark age. I started one. Uh, I started one temple, the League of Devotees, which I was not able to successfully establish. And he went to the Western to preach the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in English. So he's so humble. He says that I'm nothing in front of my spiritual master. He was able to establish 64 temples, but was not even able to establish one temple in India. Right? See the humbleness of our senior acharyas, right? We should learn from them, right? They are so exalted personalities, but they are very humble. They don't take any credit for themselves. They always give their credits to their spiritual master and their senior acharyas. Now, uh, I wanted to just walk you all. Okay. I had one more slide. Somehow that slide is missing. Okay. So we'll see some more instructions of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which he had given to his disciples, right? So first instruction was follow the instructions and preachings of Srila Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, right? So he said that never at any stage we should deviate from their teachings. We should teach what they have prescribed to us, right? With all energy and all the resources that we have, we should preach them. And then the second instruction was which Srila Prabhupada had also told, right? It came from the spiritual master, right? Don't get into quarrelsome. Work cooperatively, right? Putting Krishna in the center, we should always work in cooperation. That was another important instruction, right? This was the last instruction in 1977. Also, Srila Prabhupada, in his final days, right, he gave it to his disciples, right? And next instruction he says is that if we should not think that since I am worshipping or I am serving Krishna, everything is going to come in our way, and we should not get depressed if something bad happens. If you feel like that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, go and read Bhagavad Gita. You will understand the challenges Arjuna went through. Go and read Srimad Bhagavatam. You will understand the challenges Kunti Maharani and her kids Pandavas went through. The difficulties Prahlad Maharaj went through. Ambarish Maharaj went through. and Gajendra went through, right? Obstacles faced by the great souls in their devotion, in their path of devotion. It was not an easy path for all these personalities, right? Each and everyone had a great obstacle in their devotional life. What did Prahlad Maharaj had to undergo? His own father tortured him because he was worshipping Lord Vishnu. Kunti Maharani prays to Lord Krishna, please give us more difficulties so that we don't remove your thoughts from our mind. All these difficulties that you give us bring us closer to you. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says to all his disciples, just because you are worshipping and serving the Lord, don't think everything will come in your way. There will be difficulties, but you should be ready to face them. And then he says that material persons don't give up, right? We see that. Sports person, if they get injured, do they stop playing? They go back, recover, and then come and play. Politicians, how many criticisms they undergo? They may be good or bad, but are they affected by those criticisms? Right? Businessmen, they undergo a lot of losses. They see profits, but at the same time they undergo the losses. Do they get carried away by their losses? No. They are so strong that never give up. Even I fall down, I'll get up and I will do the work. I will go and play. I will, if I'm a politician, whatever may be the criticism, I will still go and stand in front of the public. Businessman, whatever may be the loss, I will still go and try to get rid of that loss, overcome that loss, right? And these materialist people, they don't give up for what? Name, fame, power, money. Then these materialist people, they don't want to give up their activities for fame, money and power. We devotees, should we give up our devotional service when things don't fall in our way? No. It is said that sometimes his disciples will come. So when his disciples started preaching, they will come back from preaching and they'll tell, Master, today there are only 2 people who are attended our session. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will say, Hari Bol, you are able to preach to 2 fallen souls. Be happy. Don't get disappointed. I still remember our mentor, his Kartikesh Das, he used to tell, when he used to take Gita course for the youth forum, once there was only one college boy who was there in the whole hall. He said, you come and sit next to me, and he continued to preach. So that should be the mood of us, right? No matter whatever problems that may come in our life, to preach this mission, because we are preaching this in this age of Kali Yuga. It is not a very clean and easy path for us to preach. Most of us, we would have seen when we participated in, when you all had participated in the book distribution. Was it easy for us to distribute the books? How hard it was, right? I remember Sanadra Sureshwar Prabhu once said, Mataji, devotees were trying to catch hold of her and sell the book in Velandur Balaji temple, and at the end, from in HSR temple, and then when she came to Velandur temple, she saw the devotees were asking, and then by her mercy, she bought that book, right? So it is not very difficult. It is not very easy to go and preach. You go and try to talk about this to your family members. Your family members may not accept this, right? Of this preaching mission. For that, but we should not live it up, right? We should stand by our instructions of our spiritual masters. right? What our leaders, what our Shiksha and Diksha Gurus, they instruct us. We need to stand by them, right? Whatever problems may come in life, we should not deviate from this missionary of preaching. That was the final instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, right? How many of you are ready to follow this instructions? Good, very good. You and I also. I this by preparing for this session, I was able to get a lot of inspiration from our senior Acharya Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Right? We feel that it was in that age. There was now there are a lot of things for us to get mind deviated, but it was not that. It was the darkest age when people were following irreligious principles. Now it is not there to very extent, but still, even for pious people, for asking them to chant the holy names of the Lord or asking them to have the prasadam is very difficult. But during that age, dark age, when people were completely against these, right, preaching to them and bringing back them to the right path was not easy. So much struggle our acharyas had gone through. Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 70, he boarded the Jaladuta just with 40 rupees in hand. And he has written in his diary, it is not I who is boarding. It is you, Lord Krishna, it is you who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is you whom my spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You are making me board this ship. You are going to make me to preach the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam to the Westerners, to hippies, who don't know even who Lord Krishna is. Srila Prabhupada says in his first Bhagavad Gita session, he said, Lord Krishna, everyone were blank. At least here, we do Janmashtami. People know who Lord Krishna is. Or at least people know the pastimes of Lord Krishna through the TV series Little Krishna. But in Western, they didn't know. See the determination Srila Prabhupada had, the influence he had from his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to go and preach to the Western people the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. It was only once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur told him when he first met him, you seem to be educated. Why don't you preach the principles in English? He took that in his heart and he waited for that opportunity. And when that opportunity came, he did not deviate from it. At the age of 70, I don't know, even at this age, 50, 60, whether I will be able to get up from my bed. You see so many young people at the age of 45, they have heart attacks. Right? My mother used to crib, I have a knee pain at the age of 60. I sometimes get knee pain only at the age of 40 only. Right? So the difficulties we will only come to know only at the age of 70 what our senior acharyas had undergone, right? So I take this opportunity, I humbly request you all, please follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and your Bhakti Vriksha leaders and your mentors who are influenced by their instructions of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples, right? So let's make sure that we stand by this process of bhakti. Chanting of the holy name is the only way of benediction, the ray of benediction in this day of Kali Yuga. So let's make sure that we chant sincerely the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So with that, I end this session. Please forgive me if I have talked something bad. Right? First time I'm speaking here, so that would be some things which would have come unwantedly from my tongue. So please forgive me and please pray for me so that I follow at least some of these instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Hare Krishna.
So, if you have any questions,